The sky above Kurukshetra hung heavy with grey clouds, as if the heavens themselves hesitated to witness the carnage that was about to unfold. Winds blew dust across the battlefield, where chariots lined up in solemn formation, their horses restless, snorting and stamping their hooves into the dry earth. Duryodhana stood atop his golden chariot, his arms folded, eyes fixed on the horizon. His dark armor gleamed under the muted light of dawn. Behind him, flags bearing the emblem of Hastinapur fluttered violently. He turned his head toward Bhishma, the grand patriarch, who sat calm and composed as if he were part of the earth itself. "Our army," Duryodhana muttered, loud enough for only Bhishma to hear, "is without limit, vast as the ocean. And yours, grandsire, yours protects it." Bhishma remained silent, his eyes half closed, lost in thought or prayer. Duryodhana took it as affirmation. He turned again, looking at the opposite side. The Pandava army stood organized and purposeful, and at its head, mounted atop a steel-chained chariot, was none other than Bhima, the mountain of a man whose very presence sent a chill down Duryodhana's spine. "He protects them," Duryodhana growled, fists clenched. "Not Drishtadyumna, not Yudhishthira, it's Bhima, always Bhima." The memory of their childhood, of that infamous day in the wrestling arena, flooded back. Bhima had defeated him, humiliated him before the entire court. Since then, his hatred had fermented, grown, evolved. Now, they stood on opposite ends of history, ready to settle it once and for all. The sun had barely climbed when the war cries began. Conch shells roared from both sides. The earth seemed to tremble. Soldiers steadied themselves. Horses neighed. Elephants bellowed. Duryodhana leaned toward Karna, who stood at his side in civilian dress. The mighty archer, still bound by his oath not to fight until Bhishma fell, burned with inner frustration. "You see their lines?" Duryodhana asked. "You see who stands at the front?" Karna didn't respond. He merely watched as Bhima paced before the Pandava army, his mace resting on his shoulder, his wild hair pulled back like a lion ready to pounce. "Why Bhima?" Duryodhana pressed. "Why always him?" "Because he is everything you fear," Karna finally said, his voice calm but edged with truth. Duryodhana flinched. "Number, I do not fear Bhima." Karna turned. "Then why does your voice tremble every time you say his name?" "I tremble because of what he symbolizes," Duryodhana exploded. "He is not just a warrior, Karna. He is their rage, their vengeance. He is what I have tried to destroy all my life and failed." Karna remained still. "And Bhishma? You trust he will hold him back?" Duryodhana's silence stretched long. "I must believe he will," he said at last. "If not, then we have already lost." War began like thunder, chaotic, deafening, devastating. Arrows blackened the sky. Steel clashed against steel. Chariots collided and splintered. Blood soaked into the soil of Kurukshetra. Duryodhana led his men with ferocity, slashing through foot soldiers, scattering archers, roaring orders. But always, always, his eyes searched the field for Bhima. And he found him. Bhima was a storm in motion. He tore through Duryodhana's lines like a lion among sheep. No man stood before him longer than a moment. Heads flew, chariots flipped. Every swing of his mace wrote death. Duryodhana's heartbeat quickened. "Sound the signal," he cried. "Divert our best units, contain him." But it was like trying to contain a flood with your bare hands. Bhima was unstoppable. Across the field, Bhishma saw it too. The fury, the power. He whispered to himself, "He is no longer a man. He is fire. He is justice." At that very moment, Bhima locked eyes with Duryodhana. Across hundreds of meters, in the chaos of war, their gazes met, and Duryodhana felt his courage shrink. That night, the fires in the Kaurava camp burned low. Soldiers treated wounds, buried their dead, and whispered rumors. Bhima's name was on every lip. Duryodhana sat silently near the main tent, his hands trembling ever so slightly as he poured wine into his goblet. Karna sat opposite him, He is winning, Duryodhana said flatly. The war? Karna asked. Number, the mind. He is inside my head. Karna looked at him hard. Then get him out. How? Duryodhana snapped. You are not on the field. Bhishma fights with restraint. Drona holds back when Arjuna appears. But Bhima? He does not restrain. He does not forgive. He is what you made him. Karna interrupted. Duryodhana froze. You poisoned his food as a child. You tied him and threw him in the river. You tried to burn his family alive. Did you expect him to forget? Duryodhana looked down at his hands. No, he whispered. I expected him to die. They sat in silence, the air heavy with things better left unsaid. Then Karna stood. Tomorrow, if you survive, you must make peace with your demons, Duryodhana, or they will destroy you. The next morning, the air was colder. The battlefield smelled of rust and ash. Duryodhana walked alone to Bhishma's tent. The old warrior was polishing his sword. When he saw Duryodhana, he smiled faintly. You do not look like a prince today, Bhishma said. I don't feel like one, Duryodhana replied. Bhishma's expression softened. What troubles you, child? Bhima, Duryodhana said, barely above a whisper. I need you to stop him. Bhishma sighed, sheathing his blade. I will fight with honor. But know this, Bhima fights with pain. Pain, when channeled, becomes something divine. Then we are doomed, Duryodhana muttered. No, Bhishma replied. You are not doomed, but you are challenged. He stood, placed his hand on Duryodhana's shoulder. You still have time to become a king, not a tyrant, not a warrior, a king. Duryodhana looked up, his voice shaky. But will I ever be enough? Bhishma paused. You already are. But your fear of being less is what weakens you. Tears brimmed in Duryodhana's eyes, but he turned and walked out before they fell. On the 6th day of battle, the war turned bloodier than ever. Duryodhana fought with renewed vigor, but in his mind, it was never the Pandava army he fought, it was Bhima. He imagined Bhima in every soldier he struck, in every wound he endured. And when, finally, their paths crossed, and Bhima stood before him on the field drenched in blood, eyes burning, Duryodhana smiled. Today, he said, we end this. Bhima said nothing. He simply raised his mace. Their duel was a dance of wrath and redemption. The ground cracked beneath their feet. The soldiers stopped fighting just to watch. Duryodhana held his own, but barely. For every blow he landed, Bhima returned 3. Pain blossomed in his ribs. Blood poured from his mouth. He fell once, twice, a third time, but rose again. And then Bhima stood over him, mace ready. Duryodhana closed his eyes. Do it, he whispered. But the blow never came. Bhima stepped back. Not today, he said. Not while your elders live. He turned and walked away. Duryodhana gasped in disbelief. From the mud, he stared at the sky. Why? He shouted. Why let me live? Bhima didn't turn. So you can learn what true strength is, not in numbers, not in weapons, but in the weight of justice. And as Duryodhana lay there, broken and humiliated, he understood. He had always measured strength in size, in armies, in might, but the man who spared him, when he had every reason not to, was the one truly unlimited.